And then as I was beginning to transition out of Intel, the chairman of the board, Andy Bryant, sort of asked me like, well, what do you want to do now? You know, you wanted to come into Intel and fundamentally change how we made products, and you did that. Good job. Obviously didn't try hard enough. So how do you raise the bar? And so what I said to myself was, I wanted to fundamentally change how every person, every average person imagined, designed, and built their future, which is why I wrote the book, which is why I'm now a professor at Arizona State University. And that was my future you. And that's the path that I'm on.
So we've got a question come in, which is, how can I become a futurist as a recently graduated engineer? Is there a specific pathway? And that was from Carla. And presumably, first step, obviously read the book. But after that, what's the pathway to becoming a futurist?
Well, Carla, I would tell you, well, the easiest thing, will just come to Arizona State University and take all of my classes. It's very simple. No, there's actually some great schools that you can go to if you want to do the education route. There's some great schools in the UK. There's great schools online. There's great schools in the US and even in Australia that are doing this type of work. And the programs are called usually long-term strategic foresight is what it's called. And so you can go and actually get a professional certification in it. And so you can go and take some of those classes. I think that's one way. But really, and I think a much sort of easier way to do that is to start thinking like a futurist. That's really the first step, is to kind of how pushing yourself to think about the thing after the thing. When somebody gives you a problem or somebody gives you an opportunity, not only think about solving that problem or taking advantage of that opportunity, but then ask yourself, well, what's going to come after that? What'll happen when I'm successful? What happens if this doesn't work out? And so really starting to train yourself to think that way. And as you start to do that, then you'll start again finding those people, because people build the future, and building that network and those conversations will really be to sort of turn you into a futurist, because you'll already start thinking like one.
And the term futurist, is that utilized throughout the world? Is if you go to India, China, Australia, do they have futurists as well, or do they call them something else?
It's becoming more popular. So 25 years ago, when I started this, people didn't like the term futurist or futurologist, right? Especially in the UK, right? And everybody kind of very skeptical, right?
We have a kind of weird way with words, don't we?
I spent a lot of time with the UK press, people going, okay, futurologist. And so people really were very skeptical. And I understand why, because, back in the 60s and 70s and up and through the 80s, it was a bit of a snake oil salesman, a bit of a, flim flam, and people were talking about the future. And that's not what I do. I'm an engineer, right? And I build these things. And so I really embrace the futurist title. Oftentimes it's called long-term foresight strategist, things like that. But really what I've seen over the last 5 years or more, that now, especially the next generation that's coming up, really embracing it. That so when students come to me or when I go and give public talks, people really want to be futurists. And I even talk to parents whose children are going to university, and they say, can you really get a job being a futurist? And I was like, yes, actually you can. There are more and more places that you can go who are looking for futurists.